game today. Also big for seeding, Delaware traveling to Drexel this afternoon. This game got moved up too because of weather. Let's go early in the first half. Who's going to get on the board first? It's going to be Drexel. That's Grace Osterdale bearing the free position to get the Dragons up 1-0. But not so fast. Delaware's turn now. Sydney Rasa takes it herself, and she goes by 3 defenders to quickly knot things up all at one. But then almost over 10 minutes later, Delaware is going to have the lead because of this young lady, Sydney Rasa. This is going to be her 5th straight goal for the Blue Hens. She is just scorching the Dragons. So Delaware takes the lead and makes it 5-1. But hey, not so fast because Drexel, they're still hanging around this game. Carson Harris nails a free position to get Drexel right back into this game. So now we're all tied up at 5. Let's now go to the second half of this game. Delaware's only going to be up by 1 at this point. It's 7-6. The Blue Hens are going to reestablish the lead. Sarah Bedard fires it over her defender. She's going to just take it in herself. And Delaware now takes the 8-6 lead, so now it's a 2-goal game, but a little under 16 minutes to play in the game. Drexel down 2 at this point. Grace Osterdale feeds a cutting Maggie Stetson to claw the Dragons back to within 1 of this game. So Drexel still hanging on and keeping things tight. And almost 10 minutes will go by for our next goal. It's Maggie Stetson bearing her 2nd goal off of the free position to complete the comeback. We're all knotted up at 11, but that not so fast because here's Christine Lone go straight down the middle, and she's gonna ice it for the Blue Hens. That would give them a 12-11 lead, and Delaware will go on to win this one 13-11. The 13 goals is a season high for the Blue Hens. Sydney Rasa collected a career high 6 goals, including 5 straight in the first half. And with 3 assists against the Dragons, Mia DiRogerio broke the program's single-season assist record as she now holds 45 for the year. And Delaware gets their first win in conference play.
A couple of really impressive players breaking records across the CAA. So, the CAA women's standings now look like this. The Dukes have clinched at least a share of the top seed at 5-0, no matter what happens on Sunday against William & Mary. Towson now looks good in a spot for that number 2 spot. They've got wins over Hofstra and Elon the last couple of weekends. The Blue Hens' victory today, keeping Delaware alive in that race for the CAA tournament. Remember, the top 4 teams will make it. They play at JMU the first weekend of May.
And to the America East, 17th-ranked Stony Brook looking to stay hot, facing Binghamton today. Let's go in the first half. Stony Brook up 3-0. It's Sabrina Tabasso feeds Rafferty to break the Seawolves out of the gate quick on this one. Stony Brook takes the 4-0 lead over Binghamton. But then second half, let's just fast forward for you. Stony Brook up 17-1. I said that correctly. Rebecca Golderman finds Amelia Bencardi to give the Bearcats only their 2nd goal against the Seawolves scores. They're still hanging on in this one, still hanging on. But let's just get you another Stony Brook goal just because it's Rafferty. She's going to keep pouring it on less than halfway through the second half, and Stony Brook goes on to win this one 20-4.
The Seawolves we know and love, putting up big numbers offensively. Coming up here on Lacrosse now, after a scare, recruiting rules in college lacrosse remaining the same. We'll tell you what you need to know and talk with Duke coach Kirsten Kimmel about the fight.
And plus, ahead of our CAA Game of the Week tomorrow, we visit with UMass goalie Sean Scanoni, a guy who is playing like the best goalie in the country.
And speaking of best, the best face-off man in the land returns to his old home. We've got highlights of T.D. Erlin's return to Albany coming up.
trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. With the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Join us for the most rewarding lacrosse tradition, Shootout for Soldiers. Shootout for Soldiers is a 24-hour lacrosse event with a mission to use lacrosse as a platform to support American veterans and foster community engagement. Started by a group of high schoolers in Maryland in 2012, Shootout for Soldiers has raised over $3 million for our nation's heroes. A festival-like atmosphere that engages veterans, active duty, and a local community will be hosted in 12 locations in 2019. Registration is open. Men's and women's teams of all ages and abilities are welcome to participate. Visit www.shootoutforsoldiers.com for more information and to register. 24 hours, one game, one goal, support our troops.
Lacrosse Now is brought to you in part by New Balance Lacrosse, built for lacrosse.
2 years ago, the recruiting landscape changed in college lacrosse. The NCAA approved sweeping changes, making it impermissible for coaches to contact a student athlete before September 1st of his or her junior year of high school. But today, that almost changed.
All right, we have some big news coming out today in regards to college recruiting. Today, the NCAA announced that Division I Council decided to exclude men's and women's lacrosse from a proposal that was threatening to change the date of first contact between college coaches and prospective student athletes. Now, here's what we know about the proposal. Now, it was clear to go. However, they were trying to change the date from June 15th after this sophomore year. That was agreed upon, but lacrosse is exempt from that. So that means that they'll keep their September 1st of their junior year as first contact. And of course, this was voted on status quo, supported by the IWLCA and the IMLCA. Now, this news got a lot of Twitter reaction around Twitter, and let's take a look now. And of course, the IWLCA, they had to tweet out, they're super excited about this, saying thank you to the NCAA Division I Council for listening. We are thrilled to keep our September 1st junior year rule. And the IMLCA followed that tweet up and saying thank you to everyone who has invested their time and energy to helping preserve this rule. We applaud the IWLCA for leading the charge from day one and making our voices heard. This is a great win for our coaches and their recruiting efforts. And then Ty Zanders, of course, who from Inside Lacrosse, director of high school recruiting, tweeted out fantastic news that lacrosse will be exempt from the NCAA's new recruiting legislation. Early recruiting created a negative climate for the sport, and the September 1st junior year contact date has been one of the best things to happen to lacrosse. Relieved we won't be going backwards. Now, for more on this story, let's send it over to Travis Eldridge.
So we now have Duke women's coach Kirsten Kimmel joining us, who's the committee chair of the IWLCA committee working on NCAA rules for the IWLCA. Kirsten, just put into perspective, and from your opinion, really how important was this ruling to keep lacrosse out of the overall arcing recruiting rules?
Well, I think it's important for lots of reasons. Number one, we just got this legislation through in the spring of 2017. And, we've really only been through one cycle of it, and I don't think it's enough time for us to be able to judge whether or not the rule has good long-term effects or potential impact. So for us, I think that's, one of the biggest things. We need to see it in action for longer in order to make decisions. And I think, to potentially go back or change just this so soon into the rule, I think would be very confusing for recruits and their families. And I think very disruptive to particularly the class of 2021 come this June, if they were having to manage phone calls, text messages from college coaches when they're still in their academic year and lacrosse season.
When you look at the dates in particular that were being discussed by the NCAA that would have been into effect, June 15th for contact date and then August 1st for the start of visiting dates for visiting college campuses, would have been the largest issues with those particular dates for the sport of lacrosse?
Well, I think first and foremost, in most states, or not most, but a lot of the northeastern states, kids are in school through a good part of June. So, initiating contact when kids are kind of at the height of their academic year, I don't think would be a good thing for them. Um, and I think more importantly, I think in August, it's the only time that lacrosse kids, families, coaches get a real break. And I think that for us, not having our own student athletes on campus and entertaining prospects, I think does not give a prospect the opportunity to see what a full day in the life is. Never mind that most of us are not in classes on August 1st. And I think most of our coaches understand that, yes, our Septembers are going to be very busy, September and October and November for that matter. But we'd rather kids visit when they have a chance to see what campus life is like when there are students in classes and on campus, what our practices are like, meet the team. And that was not going to happen in August.
Along those lines of the visitation, because this is one of the little things that have come up with the new September 1st date, is that when players are playing multiple sports, if they're playing a fall sport, it's tough to find a time to squeeze in a visit on a weekend when you also have a loaded fall season schedule. How have you found that to be a difficulty in bringing recruits onto campus?
Well, I think everybody's different. I can only speak for how we've handled it and how I think a lot of my colleagues at other schools have handled it. None of us want kids missing anything with their school or scholastic teams, their soccer teams, their volleyball teams, their cross country teams. That involvement is really, really important. And I think that, at least on our end, we just ask the kids, look, these are the parameters. You have to be here on a day that you can see classes. You have to be here on a day you can see us train in some way, shape, or form. These are the dates that would work for us. If they don't work for you, let us know and we'll work with you. And again, I don't think we're special or doing anything different than anyone else is. By and large, that's how I think all of my colleagues across men's and women's lacrosse have handled the visits, after September 1st.
And finally, we're now just a couple of years into this, but we're starting to be able to see some of the effects. How have you seen these new rules be effective so far?
Well, I feel as though for us as coaches, I think having a full summer to evaluate the class that we're going to be contacting in September is really valuable. I think that their transition from sophomore to junior year is really significant. I think there's a lot of growth in that summer. So after they have an opportunity to play their sophomore season and then get to see what sometimes is like 6 or 7 evaluations over the course of a summer, you get a really good handle on kids. And I think that, certainly that's important. We always want to have a really good handle on those things. But also, I think with kids being a little older now, again, we're not recruiting freshmen or sophomores. I think their perspective on what they think they want changes. And I think it also gives them the chance to just play in the summer and not be managing phone calls, text messages, communication outside of maybe emailing coaches what their tournament schedules are, what their camp schedules are. I feel as though that summertime just gives them a chance to play in peace, and it gives the coaches an opportunity to evaluate in peace as well.
Kirsten, we appreciate the time and the insight. We will talk to you again soon, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much.
All right, still ahead on lacrosse now, a conversation with the NCAA leader in save percentage and goals against average, UMass goalie Sean Scanoni.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Plus, look ahead to Saturday's huge CAA matchup. 14th ranked Towson at number 20 Delaware.